Now, of course, it's 2012. Now, the funny part is when we started this organization 3 years ago, I remember when it turned 2010. We had some high goals and objectives back then. We all know what they were. Well, if you take a look at history, what happened in 2010?
We kicked ass.
That's right, we kicked ass nationally, that's correct. The House of Representatives, the impact that took place there. We're going to do the same thing in 2012. But there are going to be varying ways to achieve the goals. Now, one of the things we've been discussing on the policy committee is going forward some of the methodology and things that we're going to be doing to go out and reach the people that we need to reach. And I want to read a letter that I put together. It's an open letter that's going to be going out to the Tea Party movement in New York State and nationally. And I'm going to read this so you see exactly what's out there and what's being said. And this will lead into what we're going to be doing going forward. The title of this paper is The Conservative Movement in 2012, Taking It to the Next Level. We all made history in the last 3 years as millions of hardworking Americans got up off the couch and demanded to be heard. At Conservative Society for Action, the message was loud and clear. Throw the bums out and silent no more. It worked. In November 2010, the loud voices of the people were heard, and by January of 2011, the House of Representatives included a Tea Party caucus. That was one of my personal goals going into 2010. No political expert in the country can talk about American politics today without mentioning the Tea Party. Liberal candidates all over the country, both Democrat and Republican, are fearful about our intentions and will be very happy to see us go home. But we all know that won't happen. I do, however, have concerns about how the movement will proceed and be successful in 2012, the year that we all agree will be a turning point in American history. I see many suggested paths, and I see many groups here and there that have lost their way. I see groups that have been absorbed by the open hand of the Republican Party, and I see groups that have no tolerance for even the slightest hint of compromise by recently electing Tea Party candidates. I also see groups more interested in being noticed than in being effective. None of these inclinations are good for our movement. One thing is clear. The tactics that launched the Tea Party movement will not take us to the next level. Expanding issues beyond those that launched our movement will distract and divide us. Taunting those that disagree with us and debating amongst ourselves simply results in a circular firing squad and creates personal divides. If we are to continue to march to save America, we need to become more focused. We need to become more involved in politics. We need to think long and hard about what is important in the long run. We need to focus on fewer issues so that all our power is brought to bear on those issues that really count. I'm suggesting that those in our movement take a step back and consider the methods of our movement as well as the message. By all accounts, we have reached millions of Americans who get it. They know what is at stake and they know our country is in grave peril. But that is not enough. If we are to prevail short of anarchy and violence, then we must continue to win at the polls. Elections have consequences, and we need to maximize those consequences. The one inescapable fact about elections today is that they are being decided by moderates and independents. We have already reached as many conservative voters as we possibly can. We start every election with roughly 40% of the vote. Virtually all of our people already know what to do at the polls. I have said from day one at CSA that our mission is simple in concept, though hard to carry out. The mission is this. We need to change the minds of 4% of the population that have an open mind about politics and policy. These people are not always paying attention to our movement or to the left. Most can be swayed by facts and policies that make sense. Note that if 4% out of 100 people vote differently in 2012 than how they voted in 2008, we can stop the bleeding here in America. 4 out of 100 means an 8% swing at the polls. How do we reach these people? Of course, that's the million-dollar question. I think we are all confident that our message of fiscal responsibility and expansion of individual freedom is reasonable and persuasive. Our problem is delivery of the message. The press will not carry our message, we know that. The left has more money than we do. This is also a fact. The press and left-wing candidates also have no problem lying to people. In a recent county executive election here in New York State, a liberal Democrat winner ran on a platform of smaller government, lower taxes, and doing more with less. His track record as a town supervisor, however, showed that he doubled taxes, illegally collected garbage fees, and was cited for illegally collecting taxes in excess of the legal limit. He won because he had $3.5 million to spread lies about his record. This will be happening everywhere in 2012. Our movement has to recognize that we face huge disadvantages in the electoral marketplace. We will be outspent almost everywhere. This not only means we need to work harder, but we need to work smarter. By smarter, I mean that we need to figure out ways to deliver our message to key segments of the voting population. We need to craft carefully designed materials that grab the attention of the casual independent voter. We have many ideas for how to do so. Some of these methods have been tested, and many will be tested in the near future. In order to prevail, we must think about spending promotional dollars that will expand our horizons. We will design alternative media platforms that will carry our message way beyond our own followers and sympathizers. We will be careful in picking where we will be involved. Limited resources will be aimed at issues and races where we can and must win. Many of these plans will be coming to light in the next few weeks and months. Until then, please stay the course. Please understand that victory will not be easy. The other side knows that what we are capable of and will not underestimate us again. Get ready for the battle of your life in 2012. Signed by me. That was the easy part. How do we do that is definitely what we're up against. As I said, in 3 years, we've already reached about as many people as we need to reach. Anybody out there who's looking for a Tea Party organization or to get involved in conservative politics has done so. And if they haven't, then they're not really serious anyway, because if you want to find this group or any other group like this, just Google it up, put in Long Island, and you'll have plenty of choices. So as far as that's concerned, we're beyond that. I think we have a good, active, and solid membership that's here in this room that represent us. I was talking to some political operatives today. They said, well, how many members you have? I said, well, actually, we got 5,200 actually signed up. But of course, beyond that, there's each one of those individuals is responsible for members of their family, friends, co-workers, spreading the word, etc. So by the time you add it all up, the numbers are impressive. We've achieved that part of the goal. We've achieved that part of the goal. Now we have to figure out the way to get the message out. Now, one of the things that we've been doing there, in that regard, is trying to come up with alternative methods of getting out the message. I call it the alternative media. That's the internets, the YouTubes, the things like that. But just putting out a YouTube video doesn't get the message out. It still has to be delivered. That's been the problem. You know, Ray and I, we put videos out for a long time. Sometimes you get 12 people watching it. What's the point? But we've experimented now in the last 4 or 5 months with doing certain types of advertising through the social media. We bought Google-type keyword exposure. We've taken our videos and sponsored them up on YouTubes. We've gone on the Facebook and done Facebook advertising. Highly targeted, as close as a zip code, a type of an individual, what their interest is, things like that. We're able to do those types of things. We experimented with it and it works. We're now on a website that's totally redesigned and revamped. Thanks to Ray, did a fantastic job in the last 3 months. Now the reason we did that is because we need everybody who's a member of this organization here tonight that follow us on the meetups, that follow us in other places, to start sharing the information on the site. If you go to that website now, if you haven't been there for a couple of months, you won't recognize it. There's a wealth of information on there. We have dozens and dozens of videos. We have articles, everything of specific interest that'll help our movement. If everybody in this room and who's a member goes onto that website and sees an article of interest that they like, or a video that they like, or whatever it is, there's a cartoon section, a political cartoon section, whole video section, the history of the organization. We have other prominent conservative leaders who have come up there and put videos on there. If you go to that website, you see one of those articles, you just push the share button. Click on the share button and send it out to your email list. Send it out to your Facebook list. Send it out on LinkedIn. Send it out on Twitters. This is the methodology that we're going to use to gain the additional following that we need beyond just our membership. So if everybody just does that, it'll have a tremendous impact. Because what it all comes down to is impressions, consumer impressions. I'm from the advertising business. We used to call it effective exposure. When you're running an advertising program, you had to figure out how many times you had to get a message into someone's hands before they remember it. Well, the bottom line is 12 times. In advertising, somebody has to see the same message in the same ad 12 times before a third of the people remember it. So the repetition of the message and the image and the logo has to be done over and over and over again. And again, I can't stress it too much. We can't buy this because we don't have the time. We can't.